the Central Line George Little Rock Football Podcast, presented by the CLGLR Quarterback Club. We are recording live from the Rock River Brewery in downtown Rock Rapids. Now here are your hosts, Iowa High School Football Hall of Fame coach Toby Lorenzen, current offensive line coach Dwayne Postma, and the 2020 Class 2A Coach of the Year, Curtis Eben.
Welcome to our fourth and final episode of Season 1 of the Central Line George Little Rock Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Eben, along with Dwayne Postman, Toby Lorenzen. Our special guest this week from the 1991 football team is Lance Baatz. He's called in. Scott Grooters, Tim Jager, and Brent Venenga are here sitting with us live. We're going to talk about a little trivia questions coming off of last week.
Hold it, Coach. I want to butt in right away.
You bet.
What can I do to get a resume like Toby and you on that introduction for next year?
I guess.
What's it going to cost me?
Well, we could add on there.
You're the reason we got the resume, do we?
Hey!
Oh,
You got to add that to the intro next week. And the reason we've got the Coach of the Year and the Hall of Famer is Dwayne. You get it? You get that, Jeff?
We could add a trivia question is who is the only coach to play and to win a state championship?
There you go.
We
could do that for you.
We can change this, can't we, Mr. Tech Man?
We can maybe change that intro. So we can
anyway,
do that.
Sorry for the interruption. I just had to get that squared away.
All right. No,
it's bothered me for 4 weeks.
Absolutely understandable. So let's talk about trivia questions from last week. First win for CLGLR was over who in 1990? 1990, first win.
For the sharing program, right?
A sharing program between Central Line and George Little Rock, but started in 1990. And the first win was against who? Boyden Hall Rock Valley, 7-0.
And how sweet it was.
And was that the first game of the year? No, it was not. Who were we supposed to play that year? We were supposed to play Sibley Ocheyedan, but they dropped their program.
They canceled out.
They canceled their program in 1990, so we did not have a Week 1 opponent that year, and that moved into to lack of players. And so we moved into Week 2 and played Rock Valley Boyden Hall and ended up winning 7-0 to start off the sharing agreement. Question number 2. Which player – oh, it turned out, Jeff. Feedback. Which player on the 1991 team was a Iowa State champ for punt, pass, and kick in 3rd grade? Mark Wall.
Mark Wall. How cool.
Mark Wall was.
And he was a heck of a punter this senior year.
I think he was
kicker.
Kicker.
Well, I think he only missed a couple. Paid off.
Punted in college.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
right.
Central College.
There you got it. I'll be darned.
There we go. That's why we got you guys on here.
That's right.
So there's some trivia questions for what we talked about last week. We're going to move into the 1991 season. Talk about the team. Team went 12-1 that year. Obviously, Class 2A runner-up. That year, we had 18 of 22 starting positions returning from the 1990 season. That year, we also won the final Siouxland Conference title. Iowa started with districts in 1992. So 91 was the last year of the Siouxland Conference. It's something that now we're kind of unfamiliar with.
Yep. How fitting it is that Central Line George Little Rock would win the final conference title simply because we were the class of the conference for a long time. So I that's one of my really neat memories is the fact that we won conference that year. Sometimes that gets lost in a great season, but that was a heck of an accomplishment. It was fun.
something that was very important to Coach Null.
Very important.
Winning that last conference title.
Particularly that last
Yeah,
one. Yes,
yeah.
it was. Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah, I think Coach Null, what he started 1967, so there was
66,
a lot. 66, so there was a lot of
Yep.
history of the Siouxland Conference with him. So you're right, he definitely wanted to get it.
Some tough competition and some tough years.
Move on with coaches. This is the first week that we're going to have a different head coach. We talked about the 96, 02 years, 96, 99, 02, and now going back to 91. And head coach was Dick Null, Greg Schmidt, Dan Cruz, Toby Lorenzen, the Ken Roseberry, and Terry Van Berkom. Dwayne Postman did not make the coaching staff that year, but he did.
Oh, man.
I tell you.
It wasn't on the sheet.
I tell you. I don't think Ken Roseberry knows this story, so I really hope he's listening in tonight. And when we started this, I was scared to death of Ken Roseberry, like most people. I didn't know him very well, but everything I knew about him just scared the hell out of me. That's the way. That's just telling it like it is. So that first year, it must have been the year before when we didn't have a game against Sibley. We go out on a scouting trail that night, that Friday night. And who does Coach Null put me with for a scouting partner that night? Ken Roseberry. And where do we go? Sergeant Bluffs, south of Sioux City. And I'm going, oh, thanks a lot. I gotta travel with this crabby old fart. He's got all night long. And I'll tell you what, from that, we weren't 5 miles out of town. Ken Roseberry and I hit it off, and it's been a wonderful friendship ever since. It was one of the neatest nights of my life because we talked football upon football upon football for hours all night long.
I tell you what, Coach, he and I coached the sophomores together, and I never coached them before. I didn't know a lot about him, and he was great. Any of you guys in here that had him as a sophomore coach, we'd go half line. We didn't have a lot of guys. We'd go half line times. He'd jump in there without any pads on, and he'd go full bore with anybody. Yep. And he was a hard ass, but he was an equal opportunity hard ass. He was a hard ass to everybody.
And I tell you what, he was a hard ass to the coaches too.
Oh yeah.
I think it was this year. Joel Druce is here tonight. I don't know if he remembers it, but we're running plays. Ken comes up to watch us. JV was done. And we're struggling, and Joel was struggling, and I was struggling, and I was getting all over his case, play after play after play. We must have ran the same play 6 times in a row, and the last time we got it right. And then I had my big mouth closed once we did it right. Ken comes back to that huddle, puts his hand on Joel's helmet, and he looks me eyeball to eyeball, and if you know Ken Roseberry, you know what I'm talking about. And he said, how did you do that time? I said, he got it right. Then tell him, he yells at me. I caught the spit in my face, the whole deal. And I went up to Joel, and then I talked to him again after practice and apologized to him. I learned a very valuable lesson that night from Ken Roseberry. And those are things you don't forget, but I needed it. I needed it a whole bunch worse than my player did. But that's how Ken was. Equal opportunity. If you had it coming, you got it.
You got it, yeah. And he did a great job with Dick of getting the program started.
Yeah, perfect match.
Coach Postma, that was his normal voice.
Yeah.
It really was.
Everything that guy said was.
Oh man, he scared me to death, but I really needed it.
There's no way Ken Roseberry and Terry Van Berkom could have coached together at the same level then.
Nope, that's why I coached.
Yeah, because Terry and Ken would have just yelled over top of each other. There's not a chance of it.
Yeah.
Tim, you had Ken as a PE teacher back then?
I did, yeah, growing up. And
you got to have at least one story for Ken from PE.
Oh, I don't know if I have any PE stories. Yeah, he coached my sister. Growing up, I went to 7th, 8th grade. My sister was 2 grades in front of me, so just watched a ton of softball and basketball. And but yeah, he was always, it was fun. He was intense in PE, but it was always a lot of fun too. So and then he coached at Boyden Hall. And then I remember being excited that he was coming on staff when we combined, just some familiarity for all of us. But yeah, he's a great guy, great coach.
And so as we go along here, I think one thing that we need to talk about before we get too far in the 91 season, and I actually forgot this myself, but we got to talk about Mount Rushmore's there. And, it's something that –
Dewey's favorite. Dewey loves
before we
these.
get going to the 91, and we're going to go back to you there, Tim, on the shared program here in a little bit. But let's talk about the Mount Rushmores. This week, our Mount Rushmores are guards and safeties. And so 2 positions in my mind that the guard position, obviously one of the key positions on our offensive line. We're going to break our offense line up into center, guards, and tackles. So this week, guard we're going to cover, and then and safety. So, I'll Dewey, you pick the order because I don't want to yell that again for the 3rd week in a row. So I'll let you pick the order. Who do you want to go first?
I don't care, just so I'm last.
Oh, that's how it works. Okay.
Yeah.
Coach, I'll let you go first, and I'll finish.
Okay.
I'll go, and then Dewey can go.
Are we doing guards or safeties?
Let's go guards first.
First of all, yeah, it took me a while to even remember who's playing guard and who's playing tackle. As Dewey always says, and he'll fill in some of the gaps on this, but there are so many guys at every position at our program over the years. It's tough to get 4 in there, but 4 that came right to mind with me. First one is Brad Lupkus, and the second one is Casey Peters, and BJ Van Breezen, and I got to go a little bit more modern era, Caleb Montag.
Can't go wrong with that bunch.
Absolutely. I'll go off with that, Coach. I'm gonna start my team with. I'm gonna start with Brad Lupkus, a kid that I played with. He's the one that made my junior year. He made my name to start with. We ran 34-36 trap with him. He pulled on it every time. Kid that I end up headbutting, but he didn't have his helmet on, so I broke his nose on the sideline that game. So, and then moving on, BJ Van Breezen. I think he is what CLGLR football is all about. Casey Peters, the same type of kid, just hard-nosed, one of those kids that you count on every play. You want Keel Montag. I had him on my list right there with it. Jarrett Meyer was another guy. But I'm going to go with my 4th, kid that maybe is a little bit underrated, actually a second-team All-State player, and Eric Claussen.
Yeah. Eric was fantastic. He's suited. And if we would position him today, because of his athleticism, we would have put him at tackle. He would be prototypical for a tackle of today with his speed and his quickness. This is if any offensive linemen have ever played for me, and there's a lot of them here tonight, they know I don't like doing this because we had so many so good. My Mount Rushmore, followed by a short list that came close. BJ Van Breezen. BJ was the perfect guard for the day he played, and he would be again yet today. Big, brawling, mauling, dominant football player. Brad Lupkus would play tackle in today's system because of his athleticism. He could have played both because he's big and strong, but you could throw a little bit more athleticism in with Brad. So he's there with it. Casey would be a prototypical offensive tackle today, Casey Peters. Casey started off, I believe, as a center. And in his younger years, he nearly quit our program. I remember making a trip over to Little Rock to have a talk with his family a little bit to convince him not to. He ends up being an All-American at USF. It goes all the way on to that. And that my 4th guy is going to be a little more of the modern area, Jarrett Meyer. Jarrett Meyer could play guard in any era of Central Lyon George Little Rock football. He is the prototypical of what we want today. Big, strong, brawling, mauling, kick butt against some of these great big defensive tackles. The short list of people for me, it's not even, like they said, it's not that short. A lot of good football players. Caleb Montag, Sam McCarty, Eric Claussen, and another modern, just finished this year, Josh Reby. Josh Reby played the position very well. Could have played either tackle or guard. So I don't know. I hate it because I might have forgot somebody. I am getting a little bit older. But wow, that's all I can say. You know, when you got guys, I see him sitting back here, Mitch Vogt doesn't make this list. That tells you something about the list.
You're right. There's no doubt.
It tells you something about the list.
There's a
And
lot
other
of guys. I was going through the all-state teams. Just
Joel Groos is another one in here.
We go right down the list.
Go ahead. Sorry,
there's
Coach.
a lot of all-state guys we're not even mentioning.
I know it.
You know, second, third team guys.
Yeah.
I was going through a list tonight, just realizing what position they play, and it's like we didn't talk about them, and that's just a lot of credit to how deep our program is and the years, the runs that we made, and it's been fun though. You know, it's one of those deals, and you look back, a lot of good memories with those guys, and so. We'll move on. Next season, we'll probably get the rest of the offensive line, but we're going to move on to the defensive side of the ball. Safety, in my mind, safety is a position that for us, it was a tackling. It was basically outside linebacker, especially the way we played recently here. But guys that got more or less tackled in coverage. But, I'll let Coach, you want to start with that again?
Well, first of all, as I think safeties, as I'm sitting here, we got two of the studliest ass corners we could ever have, these two, Baatz and Grooters. And when they played corner, they were unbelievable. And then you got two of the biggest badass linebackers we got here in our program ever sitting right here, these two. But if we're going safeties, I've got to go. Well, I'm going to go right back to their era, because I think he came downhill and hit people as hard as anybody ever did. And he probably used 6 pounds of tape every week. Mark Wall, if you watch videos of him, he's got black tape everywhere on his pants, everywhere on his arms, everywhere on his sleeves, and everything. He'd be one of them. I got to go with Boov, just for the fact that Boov is Boov back there. Justin Overman and Nate DeYoung. Nate DeYoung obviously was a good defensive back for us, and obviously was a first-team All-American defensive back in Northwest Missouri. So things went well for him after that too.
Perfect. Again, I feel like I'm going to go a little bit on Coach Postma's bandwagon here of my list, but I'm going to start with Adam Boovy, again, safety. Kid, phenomenal, downhill, fit guy. Nate DeYoung, All-American player at Northwest Missouri State. Obviously, you won a state championship with a kid like him. I'm going to go with the human missile, Mark Wall. I've watched a lot of tape here recently of the 91 team. Mark Wall might be the only safety that has pitch responsibility. I mean, we played in the dome against somebody.
Emmitsburg?
Council Bluffs. Emmitsburg or Council Bluffs? Oh, God. Council Bluffs, was it? Council Bluffs, and they run a pit and they run an option. And Mark Wall, he's not even in the picture to start with, and he's coming downhill, and he ends up hitting the guy for like a yard loss. And it was like the picture perfect. If you're a defensive guy, you're just like, oh, he's on my team, because he is just downhill, fitting, flying to the ball. I love it. And
I think it was the Emmitsburg game, because Baatz and I were talking about that. He decleated that kid.
Okay, then
yeah,
it wasn't.
I mean, it was
got him high.
Yeah, beautiful tackle.
Okay, there it is. It was Emmitsburg game. I was just asking the guys, because that was Council Bluffs, Emmitsburg. Like I said, when you watch so much tape, you don't remember every detail, but that was impressive. It's one of those deals that you watch more tape and where he fit from a safety spot. The guy could bring it.
And we all know Mark, how smart he was as far as he put himself in, because he was not fast. He put himself in the right position to make plays. And
He called himself Wheels, though.
Yeah. His sense of humor was amazing. It was amazing. I loved him. Yeah.
I'm going to go with a little bit of modern day guy, a guy that's probably doesn't have accolades, but for me was when coaching was my type of guy, and that's Kobe Mcintyre. He plays safety for us, extremely coachable, a guy that run fit as well as anybody on our team, sure tackler, and just brought the heat every time. You can talk about Mitch Lupkus, Jesse Hendricks, Justin Overman, Chris Keel, Mitch Van Beek, a lot of guys that, again, it's a position for us. I feel like it's a loaded position. A lot of guys that played a lot of college football in those positions. Yep. But, those are the guys I'm going to go with for now, and leave it to Coach Postman to finish it off.
Yeah, this is one of these that's kind of out of my realm of expertise, I guess. But I go with Adam Boovy. Speaks for itself. I think, like Tobe said, Justin Overman, I always refer to him as just a champ. He played like a champ, had key interceptions so many times in his career. I'm going to go with a guy who drove me nuts a lot of times, but a lot of times he was a gambler, Chris Keel. He roamed the field very well, made a lot of big plays, and he was a little bit on the gambling side, but he played it well. I've got to go with Nate DeYoung. He was the center fielder, the ultimate center fielder. A couple guys that I remember Curtis talking about Jesse Henricks coming into his senior year. What are we going to do with Jesse? And I remember telling him, don't worry about him. He's a program guy. He'll come in his senior year, he'll mature, he'll develop, and Jesse played really good football. Colby McIntyre, Mark Wall, several other ones. But it was a great group.
So that finished Mount Rushmore for the year. Like I said, we'll cover some of the other positions coming down the road here. Talk about going back to the 1991 season. We're going to move into just talk about a little bit about the sharing agreement. It starts, 1990 we start. And I'm going to pinpoint a little bit here with Tim Jager. Tim Jager, you guys 1990 come over. What was your thought for coming over and playing, football over here at Central Lyon and combining the schools and getting guys, classmates out, and what's it mean to you and looking back?
Well, looking back now, 30 years has gone fast. Looking back, it's been special, and I know I was kind of trying to go back and think about it, and I think we were talking about this 10 years ago when we were here with Venenga's over there, with Matt Kruger was around, and I think I just wanted to play football, and I remember like Matt, some people were nervous and were nervous about it, but I was excited to come over, but I knew Lance a little bit, our families knew each other, and even some of the guys in front of me, Rick Vanderwoody and some of those guys I knew from wrestling, so I was excited to come play. Looking back now, I mean, how great it's worked out and how fortunate it was. And I was super excited, too, just knowing Lance. And when we started, I knew their sophomore, when they were sophomores the year before and ninth graders, eighth graders, they were really good. And my class at George was George Little Rock. Even when we combined, I think we had 11 or 12 guys, boys in our class. And when it was just George, 7 or 8. So I had a very small grade. And, not a lot of, maybe a couple kids went out for sports. And it was the same at Boyden Hall. So for me to come here, I was just super excited. I remember hearing, what did you guys have, 30 boys in our class, and almost 27 of them or something like that crazy went out for football, So I was excited about that. There were a couple different things. The coaches came out to our house out in the country, and I wasn't home, but it was it was pretty cool. I was getting felt like I was getting recruited before I knew what recruiting was. So
late spring. Not a lot of people know this, but late spring of 1990, Coach Knoll knocked on my door one day after school and said, "Be ready tomorrow. You're not going to get home early." So we went out and visited. In 2 different nights, we visited at least a dozen households. The first one we went to was the Jagers. Tim wasn't home, Gary was, and Gary. It was the perfect place to go. First, I was nervous. Coach was nervous, but if you know Coach Knoll, and you players all knew him well, and myself included, this was not going to fail. If he takes something like this on, it is not going to fail. Gary said, "Well, you don't have to worry about my kid. I mean, he wants to play football. He doesn't care where it is. He's going to play football." But he gave us such a pat on the back, such an encouraging word that we went on to. I think we went to like 13 or 14 different households, dads, kids. We ended up getting. I think that first year we had 4 guys from GLR. But the one thing that making those visits really did is I think it made those kids and those parents feel so good about us coming out and caring enough about the kids to do that it left some really good feelings out there. And I'm pretty sure that kind of infiltrated through the community quite a bit. And it was a great idea. I thought he was nuts when he suggested it. You've heard me say that in previous weeks. I thought it was stupid, but usually when I think that, it's okay. But that was a neat experience, and I can still cite some of the kids that we went to see. We didn't get a negative word about nothing. They just, A lot of them just weren't going to play football. But I think it left a pretty good feeling in their mind about coming out. So that was Dick Null.
I agree. I think that was very impactful. And you guys stopped by the school, but I think going to each house was important. Yeah. I remember you at the Lyon County Fair asking me in the pig barn, hey, you're going out, right? I was like, yep. And now looking back, we've had 30 great years and can't imagine it any other way. But Sibley was the talk, and I didn't remember that until you guys just said that a few minutes ago, that they didn't even play that year. Yeah. Right. So the talk was Sibley, or I don't know if we were considering staying with Boynton Hall, but it was. Yeah. Yeah. And worked out the way it's supposed to.
It was pretty impressive to see just that small group of you guys. I mean, that'd take some guts walking on the field. With these guys that had a lot of success growing up. For you guys just to walk in and think, okay, it's going to be fine. And it was pretty impressive for you and Matt and those guys to just step out there and do it.
Yeah. We needed some boys from George Little Rock to be out there because we knew what kind of a good outfit we had coming. Yeah. So we needed those kids to get involved, you guys to get involved. Yeah. Coach Null knew that, and that's why he put such an emphasis. I got to really talk to him a lot about that in those few days, and that was a big deal. The timing of all this was very important, and guys like Lance and Scott and Brent and a bunch more of them here tonight were a big reason for that. We knew there might not be many, but we knew it was important to be part of something that was going to be special, and it turned out to be pretty special. Yeah. 29 seniors played that year. 29 seniors on this football team. What does that tell you?
Yeah. And the rest is history with the sharing. I think I talked to somebody from the state a while back, and we are definitely one of the most, if not the most successful sharing program, one of the longest and most successful sharing programs in the state of Iowa history.
We are currently right now the longest sharing program in the state of history.
Yep.
Really?
So moving on. We just finished up 30 years, and we were just talking about it, but 30 years of shared program, and it takes a lot of time and effort, and Coach can relate to that a lot. Dealing with multiple communities, and all Central Lyon's multiple communities, and George Little Rock's multiple communities. But the fact of seven state championship appearances. Think about that. 7 state championship appearances, numerous district championships. Siouxland Conference Championship in there too. But it's one of those things you look back on, and it's like time flies, but at the same time, those type of things it's incredible what the history that's involved in this program.
Yeah. The sharing thing was a huge part of Coach Dick Null's legacy. When you look back, huge part. It was vitally important to him to make that thing work. And he had plenty to go along with his legacy besides that. Oh, no. But it was massively important to him to make this thing work.
And it was a perfect timing, too, because in 1990, when we took on George Little Rock, we did not change class.
No.
So we were going to be 2A with George or without George. Right. And so it's kind of a bonus feature. I mean, whatever athletes we picked up, we're going to continue doing what we're doing, and obviously we've got some good ones. And so we moved through here, and we're going to talk about injuries a little bit. I know the guys sitting here, we don't want to really talk about too much, but start off with Scott Grooters. Scott, you blew your knee out against Council Bluffs St. Albert's, and then Monty Klinkenberg blew his knee out against MLC Floyd Valley. So
and that was what, 6 weeks, 6 or 7 or something like that.
Seven.
Huge injuries.
Yeah,
huge.
That night you did that, or that day you did that, Scott, it was a punch in the gut to everybody. We were rolling, we were big time rolling, and it was a freak play, and
just freak.
Yeah.
Brett Kudum, we had adjusted to Monty pretty well. Brett Kudum stepped up offensively, did a great job, but the timing of yours, Scott, was a killer. God darn, that was tough. Mm-hmm. We were on such a roll, and it just kind of took the breath out of everything.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, do you like how they're making it? Actually, it's like your fault or something. I feel like.
No. I do believe it. I do believe when you review that championship game, I do believe it may have cost us the state title, his injury, because we had opportunities, but as Baatz knows, their game plan was stop Lance Baatz and stop Lance Baatz. Yeah. And the rest of our guys played pretty good football, but they took away the big play ability with taking Lance out of it. And that's when you got that other playmaker not on the field. I do believe that was big a factor.
If I remember right, Scotty, we almost had to take your helmet away and cleats and stuff.
Right.
You were going to play otherwise, no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Those like maybe there's more injuries. I'm missing some. Like I said,
I think Trent Foose was in a knee. He was out with a knee at that time too in the game. I don't know if he did it during the year or what.
Okay. But we'll move on to starters. Again, review some starters here. Terry Boone, left tackle. Terry Darren, left guard. Lance Slumbum, center. Joel Groos, right guard. And then, like I said, Monty Klingenberg up until injury. And then Brett Kudum stepped in.
Lance Slumbum switched positions. Remember that, Scott? Lance, when he was younger? We had so many good skill kids. Well, I didn't think Lance was going to buy in. I didn't. I was a little worried about him. He's one of those pretty boys, you know. I was a little bit worried about him.
A little prima donna yet today. Yeah, we'll on the slide.
But I'll tell you what, when he adjusted, he was a whale of a good center, and that was vitally important. This offensive line was not a power offensive line. They were extremely smart, extremely coachable, and very athletic. They were not big. We were not a big offensive line. And this whole offense was predicated on speed.
Yep.
Wouldn't you say, Tobe?
Oh, yeah. I think Bum was probably one of the first guys that really, we went through a string of moving skill guys to center after Bum got going on that, because it just made sense, and they became such hot commodities for us.
Turned out to be a very key move for this team.
Yeah, it did.
Talk about
before you change that.
No, go ahead.
That was everybody. A lot of people in here don't remember the '91 maybe offense, but that's when we were still wishbone. We were totally wishbone at that point. We didn't line up anything but wishbone. We'd spread. We get wild once in a while and spread one of our receivers out wide, but we still stay in the wishbone there. Did you move around at all or not?
Well, I think Coach Baatz, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of in the middle of the season, Coach Knoll started opening the offense up a little bit more. We did a lot of spread with Baatz and I out at wings, Jager single back, and then we did some trips with Venenga and someone else out, Jager single back. We did a lot of that, towards the middle of the season playoffs, and that accounted for a lot of big plays.
It did in the Dakota Dome. That's right.
A lot of big plays there.
Yep. I totally agree. It was actually Jager split out, and I was at the I-back, and I remember Coach Postma when we were going through the playoff run, like he pulled us aside. He's like, "You guys have no idea how big a deal this is for Coach Knoll to open it up like that," because I was just against his character. So as the season went on, we opened it up, and I think it was key.
It was
in a
key.
lot of ways.
Yeah, it really was. But through it all, that old bootleg to the tight end to old Venenga from the quarterback, that was a big play in Coach Knoll's entire career, and it continued to be that year. Am I right, Brent?
Yeah, I always like getting that call every now and then. I mean, it didn't get called much, but when it got called, it was a
backbreaker, wasn't it? Yeah.
Brent, I remember leaving practice every night that year, mostly every night, and you and Postman would be out working on that. You and Heath Postman would be out working on that bootleg. Remember that? You'd stay after practice and run bootleg.
I remember that. I'm pretty sure it was like Mr. Postma. I mean, we practiced it because, I wouldn't go like a certain yardage or something.
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
And
I used to bark about that a little bit, didn't I?
I can remember it was just like just one more step.
Yeah.
And we just did it every night.
You're right.
So
I remember that.
it was.
And at some point, Toby, you got to tell a little bit of the story how we discovered our quarterback that year.
Yeah, who was it?
A one-year starter.
Was it you and I and Dan?
Yeah.
You and I and Dan Cruz were talking. We were watching. They were messing around early in the season.
Always Mark Wall was our quarterback.
Early in the season.
Mark was quarterback from 7th grade through 11th grade.
And he was very effective.
Yeah.
They're just messing around after practice one night, and Heath Postman was just throwing the crap out of the ball. And Dewey and I and Dan looked at each other and like, we got to talk to Dick about this. We walked over and said, Dick,
absolute true story.
I know you love Mark and everything, but Heath can throw the hell out of the ball, and he didn't believe us, and we finally had to prove it to him, and And Heath was just a slow fullback that wasn't going to help us on the offense
Was
at all.
that the
playing
90
behind Tim.
season or the 91 season? When
91, because Heath was a one-year
91.
starter.
It was
Yeah.
91.
But
yeah.
when did you
No,
go?
you're right.
no. Yeah,
you're
you're right,
right,
Tim.
It was the end of 90. You're right.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Because it ended
you're right.
90.
Yep.
Yes, you're right. It was the end of the 90
But
season
Dick,
after JV.
Yeah,
and
but Dick
everything.
thought we were crazy.
He did. Oh, yeah.
Because Mark had been the quarterback forever.
Oh, yeah.
And it made Mark a way better defensive
Yeah.
player because of it all, too.
Yeah,
no doubt
their
about it.
skills work so much better. Heath did a better job running the option with you, or running some quarterback keep and things like that, and he threw the ball well.
And Wall took it with a lot of class.
He sure did.
It's tough,
He sure
But
did.
he was
First class.
Yeah,
he took it in stride
he
and
did.
excelled at defense. I mean,
Very important
yeah.
to note that. He took it with total class. Not an easy thing.
No.
No.
And one thing that Heath could do, but we had to get it timed up right. You guys hadn't worked at it. But he could put the touch on the ball to you. We just had to get at the right distance. And that bootleg was wicked. That was a Dick Knoll play that drove coaches nuts. And
Well,
Brent-
but if I'm a
Brent was
defensive
good.
coach and you're handing off to Grooters and Baatz,
And Tim.
sorry, Venenga, I don't take too much fame away from you, but I'm just saying, there's a reason why the bootleg was there. It was going to go.
Very effective.
And that is why our quarterback was number 34.
And
Yeah,
that's right. There you go.
right. He played fullback. He was slower than me for sure. He's a postman. He's slower than me, I guarantee you.
Starting at quarterback, number 34.
Remember that?
Heath Postma.
Yeah. He was slow. Sorry, Heath, but I'm just telling it like it is.
Yep.
I'd like to comment like what Scott said with Mark, because Mark and I, obviously, we grew up next to each other. And I remember like when that like transition happened with Heath. I mean, I think I still remember talking to Mark, and I mean, it was tough, but
Because he loved quarterback.
Yeah.
He did.
Yes, he did.
it was tough, but I think, they preached like he could be better, like safety and stuff. So, I mean, that was great.
And I think it speaks to Coach Knoll, the level of, respect he had.
Yeah.
A lot of,
Yeah.
when coach makes that kind of change going into a season where the expectations are pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
There's some pressure there.
Yeah.
You're exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and he
That
kind
many
of put it on
starters
his
back.
shoulders, yeah.
Did Mark start our junior year the entire year?
I think you did, right, Baatz?
I think so.
Yes, he did.
I didn't know if
He
there was a
starting
senior in
quarterback.
there. Okay.
He scored that first touchdown was Mark Wall against Rock Valley.
First
he dove
touchdown,
into the
yeah.
end zone.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
The 7-0 score.
Wow.
That was it. There you go.
It sort of mirrored Toby's early head coaching career, making a very difficult change at the quarterback position as well. And
It's
another
not easy. Everybody knows it's right, but it's
Yeah.
tough for that guy because that guy's a competitor just like Mark was, and he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, so not only was the QB change, but they changed the offense from
Yes.
our junior year, we went from an I formation to the wishbone senior
Yeah.
year. And then defensively, we went from a 4-4 to a 4-3.
Yeah.
So we had, changed both sides of the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good stuff.
No, so we're going to keep going through the offensive starters. Like we said, tight end Brent Venenga.
By the way, Brent could block, in case anybody's wondering. Tight ends block for Central Line, George Little Rock, and this dude could block, I'm here to tell you.
He liked defense more.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's probably true.
And he didn't drop passes, right?
No,
Well, thank you.
I don't think so.
I don't think he dropped one.
I don't remember him dropping
Hey,
it.
Brent, this is one of them situations where you can brag about yourself.
last chance you get, Brent.
Yeah,
Split ends, Chad Willem and Nate Austin. Brought the plays in. Fullback, Tim Jager. Halfbacks, Scott Grooters, Lance Baatz. And then obviously number 34, quarterback Heath Postma. Uh-oh, we lost Lance.
Yeah.
And so,
I'm sorry.
what a
okay.
Okay, there you go.
what a group of skill guys. That's an amazing group of
Yeah.
skill guys. I mean,
Yeah.
any one of them could take it to the house. Any one of them could do the job anytime they wanted to.
We're
They
gonna
did it all year long.
probably going to talk a little bit more as we go
There's
along here. Go ahead, Lance. Sorry.
I was just saying, there was a requirement that you had to be about 5'8", 165 to be in our back.
And you had to have some wheels. You had to be able to move a little
You
bit.
better be able to move.
Nobody over 5'8".
You know, I was looking at some stats. I think Tim you ended up with like 600 yards that year. Just again, as much as you don't get credit for being a fullback, but 600 yards is a handful of yards.
It is.
It really is. So it's again a guy that something that you just don't think about as much. But no, moving on to defense. Defensive ends, Monty Klingenberg, Lance Slumbum, and then obviously the Dale Jansma filled in at defensive end for Monty.
He took Monty's place.
Took Monty's spot after Monty got hurt. So D tackles, Joel Grooters, Pat Ross, Mark Ross, Jason Thiedens, and Trent Foose, guys that played there. And then linebackers, Matt Kruger, Brent Venenga, and Tim Jager.
And I think that's why we changed to the 4-3 was because of number 83 at linebacker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was a big reason why to get Venenga in the middle of the field.
Yep, you got those. You got Matt and Tim that can fly on the outsides, and you got Venenga
stoking you a little bit, Venenga.
Yep. All of these great teams.
I appreciate it.
You can trace the reasons for these great teams, but every single one of them, a big deal was the linebacker core.
Oh yeah,
I know.
Big
Matt
deal.
Kruger, Brent Venenga, and Tim Jager, linebackers. Think of that. That's some dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brent Venenga was the only guy that they used 17 rolls of tape on him pre-game.
Between
I'm
him
pretty
and-
sure. I don't know if he didn't have like stitches in his pads or
What's up-
his
what was
pants
up with
to hold the pads in,
You
but
do that to impress
it
your
was
girlfriend?
below the knee, above the knee, below the thigh pad, above the thigh pad, on the arm, on the wrist.
You can hardly see the color of his pants.
It was like a stripe going down the field. Come on,
What'd you
Brent.
do that for?
What's up? What's up?
I don't really know. That's a good story. I remember that. That used to happen.
I think he did it to impress his girlfriend, his now wife. Yeah.
If I did it to impress my girlfriend, I guess it worked.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because she's still around.
You know, it's one of those deals when you look at tape, and I'm watching tape, and Brent looks like a monster out there. I mean, he looks like behemoth.
Yeah.
And then you check the roster, and he's like 195 pounds or 198 pounds. You're like, oh. But, I mean, it's just a difference of today versus then.
Yeah.
But, my good Gandhi, you're a monster out there.
And then
It's because the rest of us were so small.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, you got that monster sitting in the middle, and you got these two. You got Matt and
Bunch of
Tim,
5'8" guys around him.
the two wrestlers out on the outside. They're taking care of them too.
Head hunting right next to him.
Yeah.
You did mention that a couple weeks ago, how he filled out a uniform.
Yeah.
and looked bigger than he was.
Yeah,
He was.
Played
He
bigger,
was.
And
too.
super fast.
We had speed on that team.
Yeah.
Boy, we had speed. You get away from the D tackles, obviously. We had speed. Even on the offensive line, we had speed. And it was all predicated on speed. And
Then
it came out on the turf.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we move to corners. You got Lance Baatz, Corey Van Breezen, and Jeff Johnson. Safeties, Mark Wall and Scott Grooters. Lancey, I believe Lance had 9 interceptions that year, Batsy.
Yeah.
I tell Grooters I ended more games with garbage interceptions. I know that now. I had 9 interceptions.
And second quarters, Bob. Second quarters and end of
But that's got to be a record for Pete's sakes.
It's got to be close.
God dang. that's a lot.
Scotty, I got to go back because you played safety, but I remember when you played corner. I think you were a sophomore, and we had to play West Line in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You probably remember this. Coach Knowles, they had a big guy by the name of Bryce Tubal. Remember him doing?
Yep.
And Coach Knowles said, "Okay, Scott, your job is going to be every time Tubal comes out on a lead block for Kramer or whoever was playing, you're going to take him out at the knees." And that's all he did the entire night. Every time Tubal came out, and he was 6'6", 201. Scott took his knees out every time. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You betcha. It was the size of the heart.
You got that right. Jeff Johnson played a lot of football for him, too.
He played good football.
Yes, he did.
But again, another good wrestler too. Talk about specialties. Extra point and punter, Mark Wall. Holder, Darren DeBoer, and then kickoff guy was Jeff Johnson. So there's a starter for the 1991 team. So I'm going to go around here, guys. You got to pick somebody. If you had to take one guy with you to a fight, who do you take? Batsy, you're up first.
Off this team?
Off this team. You got to take one guy with you. You can't pick the same guy, so make sure you got a list of guys. I'll start with
Can I
you,
do like
Baatz.
Postma and name one and then like have 5 honorable mentions? Does that work?
You can name your dude. That's all.
How come Baatz gets to go first?
Because he's away. He can't
It's
beat me up.
alphabetical. Been going first my whole life.
All right, buddy.
Hey,
I'm gonna go
shortest
with,
and tallest.
Jason. What's that?
Shortest and tallest. Shortest and tallest.
Oh, ouch. I got a half inch on Grooters. I'm going to go with Jason Thiedens.
Ooh, he's in the house,
in the
too.
house,
He's
yeah.
in the
Jason
house.
Bean's in the house. Is he
Jason
listening?
was,
He's all puffed up by
Crazy
now.
man. He's
Oh,
a
God.
crazy man.
He's
big,
all
strong,
puffed up
and,
by now.
He didn't care, so I'd go with him. And you choose any one of those wrestlers to back him up. Matt Kruger, Tim Jager there. Venenga. Venenga was bad.
Hey, quit using up
That's-
all the guys.
Yeah, there's only one. There's only one. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the next tallest guy, Scotty. Scott Grooters, what do you got?
Well, I'm a wrestling father, so I know how studly wrestlers are. So I would take Jager. I would take, he's a wrestler, stud wrestler. You always take a wrestler into the fight, right? If you got to fight, find your best wrestler on the team. So I'm taking Jager.
I'm glad you didn't pick Brent because I'm going Venenga for sure.
Going Venenga.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad for a basketball dude,
No.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
right.
My pick is no wrestler.
All right, Venenga.
Well, I know we can't use. You said the rules where you can't pick the same person, but Tim Jager.
Hey!
No, I remember like one of the first times I met him. I mean, when we see each other, I mean, I knew he was a tough son of a gun. So, Tim Jager.
All right, who's second then?
I'd say Joel Grooters.
Oh yeah. Cowboy style. There we go.
He was pretty.
I
tough.
like it.
He was pretty tough back in the day too. So, I'll go Joel.
Nice. Well, you want to do it? You want to be involved in this conversation, Coach? I was gonna leave you guys out of it, but
If asked, I was going to say Joel Grooters. He's a cowboy wrestler.
sorry, Joel,
Ain't no
nothing against you.
wrestler.
He
He's
ain't
a
no
wrestler.
wrestler though.
He's a wrestler. That's right.
If I get to throw mine in too, I'd say Matt Kruger.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a good choice.
He's
Yeah, that'd be a good
silent
choice.
assassin. He just shut his mouth, let you guys do all the talking, and he just pound on people.
Good question,
Good pick.
Coach. Good pick.
No, it's just something to add. I figured that's always the fun part about it. So that's good stuff. Managers Dana Metzger and Dean Postal. Is that it?
Dean Postel.
Postal.
I tell you what,
Oh, Dino.
when I saw them two guys listed there, do you people realize that the manager position for Central Lyon George Little Rock football goes all the way back to two people for Central Lyon back then, and that is the one and only Steve Bresky and Mark Quickle. For those of you remember those days, yep. And the tradition started with those guys. Kevin DeBrine. I think Kevin DeBrine is in the team picture
He
for
is.
this team, for crying out loud. He graduated in like '87. I'm not exaggerating. He did. Coach Knoll just kept him coming along.
I'm pretty sure the only reason he was still involved is because you promised an FFA trip at the end of the year.
I think he was. Hey, Dewey. I think he was director of football operations.
Yeah, there we go. There you go. But he was a good manager. And I'll tell you what, these two guys, they carried on the tradition. And we've talked about in the other three programs, we had amazing managers on these football teams. So kudos to those guys. They deserve it.
You bet.
They did their thing. Thanks, Steve Bresky.
Bresky
Mark
started her all. He still is there.
How many football podcasts do you ever listen to where the managers get kit
that's
cred,
right.
street cred?
Only for Central Line George Little Rock football.
Until you're a head coach and you know how important they are to
That's
them.
right. You got that right.
Then you give them a lot of street cred.
Yes.
That is
I got my shout out in for Steve Bresky, baby.
I'm sure he'll listen, Dewey.
But yeah, these guys were good ones too.
Moving into the season here, talk a little bit about game one. End up playing Laverne back then we had a big rivalry with Laverne. I mean, many years.
Yeah, this was the renewal of it.
Renewal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yep. And so went up, end up winning 26-7 that game.
You guys remember more about those games than us coaches
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I
What are
remember
some
playoff
memories?
games, so fill in the blanks and all this stuff as far as those games.
I remember they kind of threw, there wasn't social media back then, but you kind of heard they were talking a lot, right, Baatz? I mean, you kind of heard.
I have a vague memory of a story about, I don't know, Terry Darren, Terry Boone, a couple others maybe, going to Laverne with the Central Line helmet on top of the car.
Terry, is that true?
Remember that,
They were
Terry?
chased by the giant.
Terry's turning the other way right now, so.
I don't know all the details, but there was a helmet, car, and a chase.
Chase.
In a chase.
Okay.
Terry, did you have the helmet on top of the car at least? Yes, he did.
Yes, you're right, Bossy.
I even heard stories where shotguns got involved with some of these
geez.
backs and forth deals out in the country roads. I don't know. You guys got pretty crazy.
Obviously, we put up 352 yards that game, so it was pretty one-sided.
We took care of business on the field, huh, boys?
Got that right.
A good Rock Rapids memory there is that was like early in the season, and we were playing at home, and it was the football game versus the races. So you got the races roaring in the background. High school football starting up.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
still
Baatz,
going
he's
on.
still the same
Still
way.
goes on.
Yeah, some things never change, buddy. We kind of brought back the best show in town again this year, though, buddy. Yeah, we kind of took care of that.
I think Laverne actually went on to have a pretty good year, so I mean,
Yeah.
we took care of them. But, they did all right in Minnesota there. So.
They're tough kids. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Game 2, Rock Valley Boynton Hall. Total domination, 28-0 game. So, obviously, Rock Valley Boynton Hall joined, I believe.
I don't know.
The year after, I think
The tech guy and I are arguing back and
96?
forth. He says 90. I think he's smoking something weird.
Well,
I don't know.
actually, no, 90 had to be about the same time because George Little Rock was shared with Boynton Hall.
This
in
has not
89.
officially been confirmed, so I refuse to give in.
1990, so.
I still don't believe it.
So anyway, we end up 28-0. Again, a game that was pretty one-sided.
Isn't it fun to put these words together? Total domination, Boynton Hall, Rock Valley. How cool is that?
Yeah, I'm with you.
I love it.
I think they were called Rock Valley Boynton Hall back then, though. They switched
I don't
it
know.
around.
I just
They were the
I had a
Rockets in
lot.
the paper,
I had a
so.
lot more names for them. You too, John.
So.
Yeah.
I bet that was sweet for you guys beating Boynton Hall.
was,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
You probably knew a lot of those kids.
If I had one more 712 in me, I'd probably tell you some of those names, but I won't.
I've been waiting 30 years to ask Brent Venenga a question.
There we go.
All right, let's hear it, baby. Oh, here it comes, Brent.
Boynton Hall. They're punting. Venenga busts through and just there was no chance. The dude just punted it right into Brent. Brent just falls on the ball. Why did we pick that up and run?
Venenga.
That's how you get your picture in the paper.
Renegade, 30 years. Bring that key back, Renegade. Bring that key out.
I don't think I remember that one.
Oh, really?
I just read about it. He's right. It's accurate.
I'd have to watch the tape on that
I mean, you could have just palmed that. You could have palmed that ball and just coasted into the end zone.
And against
Anyway,
them
it was a good
guys
block.
of all
It was,
people.
Yeah.
You wanted to save your energy for offense, didn't you?
You wanted
Blocking.
I wanted to recover the ball to give you the opportunity to
Good answer. Give the glory boy a little more glory.
Chemistry.
That was good.
Moving on. Home game against West Lyon. A game 21-16. And if you look at the stats don't tell the score, that's for sure. West Lyon outgained us. First downed us.
But yet we had some opportunities. I thought we beat them worse than the score. I really do, because we had some opportunities we blew. They did some, they were more of a physical team. We were not a terribly physical team. So the matchup was maybe a little bit in their favor, but we were up big on them.
Yeah,
here's the deal, though. I mean, if you read the newspaper article, they ran 81 plays.
Yeah.
We ran 41.
Wow.
How many plays did they run on the final drive? That had to be like a 20-play drive. That final series.
No, they had 439 yards of offense. We had 295. So the ball was going up and down.
There were some classic plays in that.
There was.
Yeah,
the ball was complete. You know, it's funny. I was given. Talk more about it later, but I had our last district meeting this Friday in Sheldon, and Jay Rosemoon was there. And I bring up the 91 year. He remembers every detail of everything that happened at every play. And he was so mad yet because in the playoff game, we'll talk about down the road, we spread out. We hit Baatz on a little screen play.
Right.
But he was so mad they didn't prepare well enough.
And who's the D coordinator?
We're not.
That's why he's mad.
Yeah, Jay's listening. Trust me, I know he is. But
he's the guy. That's why he's mad.
He brought back all these memories, and I just died laughing. I loved it. And so it's one of those, again, another podcast where we can say the little Wildcats, as my son would say, the lion and the Wildcats, meow, the cats. And so we like to remind them of that. So, but again,
any special memories for you in that game, Tim?
I do remember. I'll pick on Lance a little bit here. I was new to the fullback position. There was good coaching in '90, like you said. There were Brian Grant and Reed Koiker and Heath Postman, myself, Corey Warner. So I felt like I was kind of learning the position yet. And I remember that game. I had a 40-yard run or 41-yard run.
Touchdown run.
Yeah, touchdown run. And I remember Coach Knoll coming up after the game, where's my fullback? And I just remember Lance being like, he was like, how, where were, almost like, where were the defensive backs? Like, how did you score? It was funny. But, no, I just remember it was a tough game. It was physical. Yeah. Physical game.
What sign was tough?
Siouxland Conference title on the line. We all knew it.
Yeah.
That was probably the funnest 1.5 quarter. That was probably the funnest first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I know.
Of the whole season.
I know.
You had a great catch in the back of the end zone, right?
Well, we had 3 kind of big play touchdowns. We had like a 20, 30-yard pass.
Yep.
We had
one
to me.
You. Yep.
Jager with a long 40-yard run, just broke it up the middle, and then Baatz had a long run. But that was, we got up 21-0. Playing our arch rival, and we were stoked. They came back, but held on.
Yep.
I know how Jager scored up the middle there. If you watch the film, he gets the ball, it's like a dive, right?
Yeah.
And he almost trips going through the line. So he's basically going through the linebackers bent over. Nobody has any clue he has the
Where
ball
is he?
until he runs by him.
Thanks, Lance.
Catches his
I got to say one other thing about that game. This just tells you the difference in the eras, right? I had a concussion in the third quarter.
Oh, yeah.
And tackling Jason Wolf, I think, and ended up missing 2 series. So I remember the first half, and I remember the last 30 seconds of that game.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
In the locker room, he kept asking, "What was the score? What was
Wow.
He was not all there.
I got to my locker, and I looked at my locker. I remember this, and I'm like, I have no idea what the combination is.
Wow. That's incredible.
Things have changed.
Amen.
It had to be on a tackle because I don't think anybody ever got a hand on you when you're running the ball.
But we got to talk about the final, the final drive when Westline got the ball. I don't know what Baatz was there, 3-4 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think 2. I think they tossed the ball down the field.
So they were down 5, and they were just kind of slowly marching down the field. Venenga was back and forth. There was one time Venenga made a tackle. Was it out of bounds? And he didn't move.
He tackles Kyle Kramer from the shoulder, horse collar. He can't do that anymore. He just lays there.
You remember that?
I remember that last drive. It took forever, and it was a stressful. We were up, and then. We knew that basically the conference title was probably on the line.
It was the game
in that drive.
Yep.
Not just the game, but the conference title.
And then we get to the playoff game. That speaks for itself too. What it is?
Is that crazy? Game 3, and you're already talking conference title.
Right. And they got to the 5, and if I remember right, Slumbum came in and made got to Kramer on the final play.
I believe it.
Are you thinking the playoffs?
No. This is
No. He's right.
But yeah, game.
They actually got to the 3.
They got to the 3,
and then
inside,
lost a yard and last play.
and I think they got to.
There's
I think they got to the 3 with like 20, 30 seconds to go.
Not much, less than a minute, I believe it's.
Ran a play, and then Slumbum came in and got Kramer on the last play, and we rushed the field. That was.
I think it's in Westline lore that there's rumor that they thought they were on the 12.
That's true. That is very true.
Because they were just, they had Chad Kudum just running up the middle, and they thought they were a little further out.
Yeah.
So they ended up throwing twice, and the last one was, you're right, Schlumbum got him on the end. And
Yeah. I think you're right, boys.
Because it was nuts. It was the clock was winding down. It was
the usual massive crowd.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Intensity.
You watch tape. You remember this is before today. There's fence around the field.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is when the old cable is there.
Yeah, the people right up along
everybody's
the sideline.
on
They're
the
on top
track.
of the field.
They're
You
like
bet.
literally on top. Like
Thousands of people.
I think Venenga run some guy, might have been Kramer out of bounds, and they slide right into the cable, and the crowd's backing up, and they're they're picking the West Line guy up, and Venenga staring at him walking off the field. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
I remember walking off the field after that game. I think, and West Line fans were yelling. They were spitting on Dick, and then it was crazy.
There was some repercussions on that too.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that. Those were the days.
I tell you, that was fun. That was absolutely fun. But we'll move on a little bit here. Talk about Sioux Center, 48-14. Domination, just butt kicking, just like the way we like it. So
Brent Venenga had a big interception. I've circled in my notes here. Statistically, this game, we were not a big offensive statistical team as far as our typical grind out the clock, lots of first downs. But we had 26 first downs in that game. And they ended up getting quite a few at the end. 26 first downs.
they actually ended up with 3 first downs. So
do they have time of possession on that? Because Sioux Center threw every single
that was
play.
That was Jimmy Johnson.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
They put out 5 wideouts, shotgun, and threw every
Schmitty's
play.
term for that was Star Wars.
Yep, Schmitty called Star Wars.
50 attempts.
That was the longest game of the year.
Yep.
Was that the game? Was it at Sioux Center?
Yes.
Was that the game where where we accidentally kind of kicked an onside kick and Jimmy got mad at us?
No.
That was a different year.
That was a different year.
They that year we had 427 yards rushing that game. They had 15.
Yeah, it was just incredible statistical. It was.
15.
It's another one of my favorite few words. Total domination, Sioux Center. Just love it. Just love it.
542 total yards in that game. 542 total yards. Unbelievable. So, that's another good. And then we go into, I guess, we can go in the next game, but my good, play Sibley. They fielded the team this year, so that was a good start. But 51-0. Was that a mercy rule?
It was a mercy rule. I'd forgotten that, but I thought Coach Knoll was extraordinarily generous to them the whole game.
Well, speaking of generous, Baatz only got the ball 4 times that game.
There's your reason right there. We played a lot of kids.
Very generous.
What it boiled down to is our third string was dominating.
That was a stat killer. That was a
Stat killer.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
You're right,
So
Baatz.
you
You
only-
realize that we only had 189 total yards that game?
Yeah.
189 total yards, and we beat them
Because
51-0.
we had such an incredible return game. Interception return, punt returns, kickoff returns, so on and so forth. I got a little story to tell about the return game. I'm not sure when the right time is, though.
Put it in. Go.
Our first year coming into Baatzy and Scott's, you guys' junior year, I'm whining to Coach Knoll. I'm really, really bitching. We got our return game sucks, and I'm really on it. He gets pissed at me. He said, "Okay, you're in charge. You got kickoff return." So I'm going, okay. So I make work of this, and I go up to the SDSU football camp that summer, and I got to find a kickoff return. So it's Friday night, last session, late, lots of liquid flowing, and Coach Hensel stands up and says, anybody got anything to say? I said, yeah, I need a kickoff return. Who's got one? And there's a guy sitting in the back of the room. I forget his name, but he's from Bellfourche, South Dakota. And I said, I'll see you after the meeting. Okay, he's about in as bad a shape as I am. The first thing he says when I get back there, don't even think about this play unless you got speed. I'm going, I'm your guy. But because of my condition, I grabbed as many napkins as I could, and I found a pen, and I actually took notes at a coach's clinic.
The one and only time.
Probably the only time in my life.
Ever.
And I wrote this baby down, and it worked, didn't it, Baatzy? Didn't it, Scott? The pizza return. I called it the Bellfourche special. We called it the pizza return to you guys. And your junior year, I think it cost me the pizza return, and Terry Van Berkom sort of stole it from me, but I don't want to make him mad, but it's true. I said if we get a kickoff return for a touchdown, I take the whole team to the Pizza Ranch for. I think you guys cost me 33 pizza buffets that year. 3 times it happened. But anyway, our return game, not just because of that, but this is one of them games. If you read the article too. We had like 300 yards in the return game in all the different returns. But so Baatzy and Scott, that is where the pizza return originated from. And Coach Null put me on a mission, and I came through. The Bellfourche special, baby.
I remember Coach Postman, pizza return on one.
All we wanted him to do was kick it to one of you guys. That's all we wanted.
I remember.
That play just opened up like the seas, baby.
Hey, Baatzy and Grooters, we all know he just wanted somebody to go to Pizza Ranch.
That's right. Yeah.
There's some truth to that, but it didn't need to be so expensive.
It was going anyway.
That was going anyway.
He's gonna have a loving friend.
You guys sure made me look good to Coach Null, though. I want to tell you that.
That was good.
I love it.
Very good.
The Bellfourche special. I tell you what, I could draw it up right now.
You should.
Yep.
We use it
Curtis,
forever.
don't get any ideas. I don't want to impede on.
Yeah, I know. Okay,
Mitchell, you guys, I don't want.
Hey, we used it forever, Dewey, until we didn't have speed one year, and then we got rid of it.
Oh, we're moving on to the Okoboji game. 21-14 ball game. Obviously, probably the last good Okoboji team they had.
No, they beat us the next year. Don't even go there. I don't even want to talk about it.
We're not
I
gonna
really
talk
don't.
about it. Anyway.
Robert Strauss was the coach.
Coach Knowles.
Knowles'
They grew up
best
together.
friend,
Yeah, they grew up together.
But
And
anyway.
I think Coach was a little easy on him. I don't know. Who knows? But they
But
beat us next year.
21-14 ball game. So again, one of those.
I think they got third in the conference. I mean, they had Greg Jorgensen,
Yeah, they're pretty tough.
very, very good athlete. Dan Heller, good athlete.
They were pretty tough.
But were they basketball players?
Yes, both of them.
So were Grooters and Baatz.
That's right. And Venenga.
Blankenberg and Wall.
And Slumbo.
But who takes to a fight with
And
you?
Austin.
That's what matters.
You know, I think Coach Knowles' quote in the paper was, "It was a typical terrible homecoming." I don't know
Yes.
what paper,
Yes.
but I do remember that.
He hated homecoming.
Hated the distractions of homecoming.
He did.
Good call.
He really did.
Absolutely.
And the distractions back then were way worse than today too. The parade and all the crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I got a question. Do the Central Line Lions still run through the paper hoop?
No, you can't do that anymore. It's against the district
You
rules.
can't?
District rules.
What's the rule?
I remember the
This one
Okoboji
might
game.
fall
This is
down and
a
hurt
random-
himself.
So go ahead.
a
Sorry,
random
Lance. Go
memory.
ahead.
For the 1991 Central Line Lions, Ryan Miller, every game
Every
ran
game.
through that hoop first.
It was tough to beat him.
Okoboji game, I didn't know what it felt like the
That's
first
awesome.
time.
I mean,
That's awesome. I love it.
You made it first that game.
Before the game, like Ryan takes off, and I'm like neck and neck, and we are just running. We're running for that paper. And right at the end, I pulled ahead. I got through there first one time. The game didn't go well, so we let him do it from then on.
I got a funny story from that game. That game, first game we got down. First game we trailed all year, so we were down 7-6 at half, and Coach Knoll at halftime is basically giving regular halftime speech, and basically we're getting the ball coming out of second half. Says, okay, first possession is crucial. We've got to set the tone, get out there, and get some points on the board, and take this lead. So they kick off. I catch it, and I fumble it. Okaboja recovers. They score, go up 14-6. So yeah, I felt like I let Coach Knoll down a little bit there, but we came back and won.
Yeah, everybody pulled it together. Yeah, but it was a tough battle.
They were good. They were a good outfit.
Yeah.
Moving on to the MOC Ford Valley versus a 35-27 ball game. Real close game all the way through. If I remember right. So.
Lost Monty that game, didn't we?
Early, yeah.
Early in that game.
Yep.
Yeah, tough loss.
Yes.
Yep, big loss.
Yeah. Brent had a big touchdown catch there. Remember that? 52 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Was it a bootleg or was it just you flying down the field?
Probably bootleg.
I think that's about the only route he ran.
Yeah.
I really do. But it worked. And we probably haven't talked about it enough, but Heath Postma could throw that football.
Oh, yeah.
And this was one of his best games.
It was, yeah.
He threw for almost 200 yards.
Yeah.
He threw a pretty pass. Boy, I tell you what, he really
had
did.
touch on it. He could do it.
Yeah. And this was the game Knoll started opening it up.
It did.
And this was kind of set the stage for the end of season and playoffs.
They had to be nervous when Brent split out. Looked like offensive lineman out there.
Coach, you didn't tell me this was going to happen.
I mean, we talked about it, but the reason why the pass worked so good is because, Scott and Lance and Tim, I mean, it was just whatever the percent was. I mean, 9 out of 10 plays, and you just lull people to sleep.
Yep.
And then, just that one or two,
Yeah. Heath was 7 for 11 for 173 yards in this game.
Pretty efficient.
Holy smokes.
Yep.
But that's where we really started to loosen it up.
Yep.
And that led into the playoff run. Big time. Big time.
I thought Heath was he was a great leader, but kind of like a calming, I don't know, maybe I appreciate he played fullback too, but I just remember, early on in that year, he just kind of took over, but he was just a good leader.
It's just crazy that he did that with no experience.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It just was.
Good point, Tim. Very calm.
Yeah.
Heath was.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Tim. Heath, in the huddle and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
never rattled.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
No.
That's that Postma.
Oh, yeah.
Postma
Glad you said that. I wasn't going to say it.
Very calm, collective.
Right.
What are we talking about? Good stuff.
Yeah.
Went on to HMS, 48-13 game.
Was that the snow game?
Yep.
Playing with the snow?
Ice on the field.
Baatz, you had a good game in that game, I remember right.
Yeah.
Has to be the best.
It worked out all right.
The best average per carry of any game ever, right?
Yeah, what do you have?
It's like six
carries for 200.
Seven carries for 205.
Yeah.
Plus he had
29.2 yards.
It's like everybody was playing on ice except for Lance Baatz.
They couldn't tackle him.
66-yard touchdown catch.
Yeah, he was
Long runs.
Well, that's not counting the catch either.
No,
that's 200 rushing.
It was sort of the Lance Baatz show.
You need to ask Grooters about the football catch at the catch.
So Baatz has 4 touchdowns already, and we're getting
Grooters, tell him about that play.
Which one? Which one?
Yeah, the catch, the throw.
Yeah, Baatz has 4 touchdowns already.
The 5th touchdown.
Yeah. And so, we're starting a new series, and I'm like, okay, maybe we're going to have to run a little Grooters here, get Venenga involved. Play comes in, Austin brings it in. Left 22, is it pass or bootleg? Left 22 pass. Probably, so it's a fake to me.
It's the bootleg. On that bootleg, the halfback went.
Venenga's bootlegging across.
You sneak out the back.
Baatz is doing a fly. I'm like, I look at Baatz. I'm like, you're getting to go do a fly again? He's like, yeah. And what does Postman do? Hits Baatz. Touchdown number 5. We come back to the sideline. It's just, you son of a gun. You can score,
Welcome to the life of a lineman.
we joked about that one a lot.
I love it. I love it.
No.
But we were loosening it up.
Yeah.
Things were happening.
Moving on to the Sheldon game, 34-0. As Dew would say, complete domination.
Complete domination.
Did we get beat right at the end of the game and get Sheldon the year before?
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember that was a
kept us out of the
heartbreaker?
playoffs.
Cost us the playoffs.
Cost us.
Well, I don't think we would have made the playoffs even
Maybe
if
not.
we beat them.
Might have,
But-
though. Yeah. But they did. Yeah. I think it was last game of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the last game of the year this year, too. But at that time, how did they do playoffs? 13-point system. Because it was conference then, so obviously.
What was the point system?
It was a point system, yeah.
So-
But if you were undefeated, you automatically made it.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
But it was a point
was a
system,
point
though, because
system, yeah.
MOC was not in could not be in our 2A district, was
17-point rule.
it? 17-point rule.
They later on went to a 13-point rule, but this was a 17-point rule, where you could get is 17 points for that game.
Yeah.
So late in the season, did somebody forget their tights and had to wear their girlfriend's nylons or something?
Is that Batsy?
No. I think.
No.
I think that was you.
Was it me?
Your,
Was it me?
your tights had feet. Your tights had feet. And those are called nylons.
I don't remember that.
Grooters.
You're busted, buddy. You're busted.
So you got to borrow your girlfriend's tights, huh?
I don't have any memory of that. Long time ago.
A long time ago. Oh, man.
That's good.
That's the first I heard that one.
Yeah, me too. I think they're making it up.
He knows. He knows. Baatz jumped right on that one. He was like,
Yeah. Whether they were his girlfriends or not, his tights had feet. And, you get what you deserve.
I'll have to look at film. I don't know.
Good one, Curtis.
that was
Good one, Curtis.
obviously that was like 4th grade, so I didn't see what tights he was wearing, but somebody did cue me in on that one a little bit, so.
Great story.
We did play in some weather though. You'll still look at some of the record lows around homecoming are the 91. I mean, we had several games.
It was some nasty weather.
Obviously, nasty weather started the first round of the playoffs. So, we go and play Westline at home. End up winning 14-12. And Jay Roseman reminded me that they played at Harris Lake Park the 2 or 3 games before that. When they played out in a cow pasture. 3 guys sprained their ankle.
God, I remember that.
They just couldn't beat us because those guys sprained their
some
ankle.
of those things, you still hear them today.
Yeah. I told
There's
Jay,
a word for it. I
told-
think it's called excuses.
I told Jay, I said, do you realize, Jay, like you're telling me these stories, I'm going to repeat them. Oh, yeah, okay. But no, but again, great battle.
That was I remember it was like a cold, snowy game.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because of the tights thing. I remember that. People were like, how are we going to play in this? It was cold, and people were like, gloves and all this. I do remember, like, I'm not wearing any gloves. I'm not getting any tights. Never did it before. And I think Mr. Postman, a little story about the, offensive line stuff. Like, you're not wearing long sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
And I can still remember that. I'm like, I just wore the same stuff, but
And I was
always
I was
wore.
upstairs up on top of the building, and it was one of the few games, like 2 of them, that one and the Harlan game, where I've never been so happy for a game to be over because I was froze to death. Eyes froze to death.
So I got a good story from that one. So Coach Van Berkem and I and Coach Cruz have to go scout Emmitsburg that night of the West Line game. We're like, good God, that's the game we got to go scout now and watch, not watch the West Line game. So we're out. We go to Emmitsburg early. Get there. We go eat somewhere, and they're already taking bets at the restaurant for the Emmitsburg second round playoff game before the first round game even played. We watched the game. Pretty impressed with them. We realize, okay, we watched them a while. We're gonna get out of here. We're gonna go back and watch the rest of our game. We get in the old station wagons. We're driving 70 miles an hour.
No.
It's snowing out. We're driving 70 miles an hour. We got it on the radio. We can barely hear it on the radio. We couldn't get it, so Terry takes a couple of off-roads. We go up on the top of this hill. We're outside trying to get the antenna to work. Finally, we just get in the car, go 70, 80, get back. We pull into the back of the school there. It's snowing to beat heck, and it's just about the last drive of the game, and then we jump out. I mean, the crowd was nuts. It was so surreal, that game was. It was
that's
nuts.
one of those, that end of that game, that's one of the memories that'll always be there.
Oh, yeah.
And the snow, heavy snow. Wasn't that Halloween night or something?
Halloween night, and we got how much?
It was like 15 inches of snow. It was incredible.
And I don't think we practiced outside.
After that.
We didn't? We didn't.
The next week, I know we did.
We didn't, no.
Well, a couple things from that game. I think both of our touchdowns were on fourth down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, Baatz?
Yeah, I think 3 of our 5 against West Line that year were on fourth down.
Wow.
And both of those in the playoffs.
Wow.
And they were both touchdown passes. So
Right.
It goes back to what we talked about. We went to that, like you said, double wing.
The spread, yeah.
Yep. Double wing with the 2 splits, and they ran a middle screen to Baatz.
Yep.
And it was set up. I mean, it was like money.
Yeah.
Like compared to game 1, when we just sat in the the wishbone, never got out of it.
Right.
To that game, I felt like we just transitioned our offense tremendously. And really just took advantage of what they did. You know, they had a great D line. They got the ball. Linebackers attacked hard. And Heath did a great job of setting it up. And it was like, boop. And Baatz caught that. It was right up the middle. But
that second half of the season, I was thinking this earlier today. We each week we've talked. We've taken the strengths of the team and did such a great job coaching-wise. But this of my years with Coach Null was a masterful job offensively. He switched things around. He utilized what the quarterback could give him. He utilized our speed. He spread it out a little bit. And I tell you what, it just came within an eyelash of getting us a state title. And you saw it begin at the MOC game. Just one of his really great jobs. It was fun to watch. It was fun to sit back and watch.
And that was a very, very good West Lion team. Kyle Kramer was one of the best athletes to go through there. They had another all-state lineman.
They were
several kids Lance and I played in Northwestern with. I mean, there were a lot of college football players from that team.
Big time.
They were good.
Great Central Line, George Little Rock, West Line games. No doubt about it.
One of the few years we beat them twice, right?
Yeah. 3 times now.
Yep.
It's kind of fun. To talk about.
It's kind of fun to do that.
Yeah.
Get that right.
And they were both tough.
Both memorable.
Close, tight games.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. But a big playoff win for us. Huge. Got us going.
that leads us into.
Hey guys, I'm gonna hop off.
Go ahead, Lance.
I'm hopping off video because my internet's struggling, but I'm hearing audio, so I'm still here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to move into the game 12, game 11 against the Emmitsburg. In that game, we actually ended up going to the Dakota Dome to play that game against Emmitsburg.
Unprecedented. Never happened in the state of Iowa.
Never happened again either. It's another rule change. Yeah. Another one of them rule changes because of Central Line and Central Line George Little Rock.
I do believe the state took a bath. I think Dakota. I think USD charged whatever they wanted to get that game there, and it was incredible though. I mean, in my eyes, when I think about the start of our CLGLR sharing program and the dynasty, that's the game I think of. That's the game I think of all the time.
Yeah. And make no mistake
Good
about
point.
it. They made a rule change after the Harlan game too to play indoors semifinals. And this game was changed. The rule was changed, and I'll guarantee you, 95% of the reason the rules changed is because Emmitsburg and Harlan bitched so loud that they went and got beat by little old Central Line George Little Rock, and that just can't happen. But it did, and they flat out just got outplayed both times.
Did you guys going in? Did you guys know the history of Emmitsburg, how good they were, and I mean how their history of their program?
I think we all knew that they had won the state title 2 years in a row, that they had a senior quarterback, all-state quarterback and fullback. I mean, we knew that. Anything else we knew? I mean, that's about enough, isn't it?
I think you knew we could beat them, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, Brent?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I remember knowing they were, talking about them and they were good, but I don't think I can't remember worrying about it or being intimidated by it.
Well, that's what I was getting at. I don't remember these guys even batting an eye like there was one bit of apprehension at all that they weren't going to go out there and do exactly what they did that day. I remember that.
I mean, we talked the whole year, I mean, we were going to try to win it all,
Yeah.
And then we got to that next game. I mean, I think the West Line, it's like, God, if we can beat West Line again, I mean, that was the thing.
I mean, we talked about going to, we always, back then there was only the finals in the Dome, so we talked about going to the Dome since we were 7th grade. So
and here we were.
And
quicker.
So Emmitsburg was just another step to get there, But that was the way we looked at it.
And our
I think
speed just dominated them.
Go ahead, Lance.
Go ahead, Lance.
I think something that made that game really special was, they moved it to the Dome. I think it was during the week we got out of school. So it was like a Thursday. And the whole town is like, well, okay, this is something to do.
Right.
And the whole town showed up in Vermilion. So it was huge crowd. The atmosphere was just amazing. Coach Knoll always said, the great teams of the 70s, Coach Postman's teams, right? They never got to play Emmitsburg. So I think it was on his bucket list.
Right.
Yeah, that's
to
a
beat
good point.
Good point.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the most incredible performances I've ever seen involved with CLGLR football, that game.
Yeah, it was. Truly was. And
if anybody wanted to watch that game, if you have never seen that game, you got to watch it because it is. I mean, it is. Anybody that's listening out there, you got to watch that game if it's on YouTube, and it is incredible game to watch. And it's just masterful the way you guys just demolished them.
So we actually started a YouTube channel, CLGL Football, and we're gonna try to throughout the years upload as much tape as we can throughout the years. 91 is completely uploaded already. And so, we'll get tape from Coach Lorenzen, and we'll slowly transition those onto YouTube for everybody. But if you haven't, follow us on YouTube, and we'll try to get things uploaded as we go along here. And it's just an example of one of the games that you have to watch. Like you said, Mark Wall, and that, just an incredible athlete. You don't realize how athletic that team was up and down the lineup until you start watching that tape, and you're like, as a coach, especially myself, you start appreciating what type of athletic guys are on the field.
Yeah, I watched that game this week, and Baatz made some of those Emmitsburg defenders look
foolish. Yeah.
He just made a few on some of those long plays, touchdowns. He made one juke.
Yep.
And they were they weren't ready for it.
Yep. Schmitty always called him Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the game plan was to get him the ball, throwing the ball with space. And he just ate him up. Yeah.
I remember the defense. The linebackers were feasting. Linebackers were feasting on Emmitsburg, and Emmitsburg, they ran their quick huddle and stuff, and it did not deter these guys. I mean, they were right on top of it. We'd never played a team like that ran that quick huddle, and these guys jumped in and took care of it right away.
But I thought the play of the game was when we ran the spread formation on about the 40, and we just like the screen pass to Baatz like we did against West Lyon, and Postma threw it behind the Emmitsburg guy, and Baatz came around and I don't know how Baatz even saw it.
Yeah,
right.
Because Postma kind of led Baatz, and the Emmitsburg guy stuck out his arm almost, and Baatz took it, went 45 yards.
Yeah.
Huge play.
Yeah.
So moving into this game, my story, I remember I'm a 4th or 5th grader, whatever year it was, but Lance is, I believe Lance is a student teacher or like
He's a work study for me.
Work study with
In
Coach
PE,
Lorenzen.
elementary
So
PE.
here I am. I'm running around, and Lance.
Yep, for sure.
I was telling Lance earlier. Lance had the Jordan 6 shoes.
Yep.
The 6th year of the Jordans, and they were black and gray, and they had like the little like squeeze thing to put the tennis shoes down. You know, like the shoestrings down and tie them up. And I was always told myself, I'm going to buy a pair of those. I'm going to buy a pair because obviously Lance, the god of CLGLR football, if he's wearing them, like if I own them, I mean, like I got to be just as good, So like going back, and those are things like, I tell the kids all the time. If you don't think you make impressions on kids, you're wrong. Because just as an example of myself, like I remember every day going to PE. Like I would have skipped. I would have done everything to go to PE just to spend time with Coach and Lance and run around the gym. So it's just a great story. I looked him up on eBay today. I can buy him for about $180. So I got to find the right size yet. I promised myself I'm still going to buy a pair. So.
Who was on a couple weeks ago that talked about Lance's rat tail?
I remember Curtis even.
Rat tail.
That was rat tail. That's right.
I don't remember that. I'm sure you guys do.
I think, was it Keel or was it?
I think it was Keel.
I think Herda.
I think it was Keel.
Oh, no.
I think it was Herda.
Might have been Herda.
Oh, there you go.
I think it might have been Herda talking
It was
about
Herda.
the rat tail. We'll just keep talking about the shoes.
Yep.
So we're not going to bring the rat tail up.
When you're talking about the shoes, I was like, I got to throw out a thanks to my mom and dad because they were dropping $100 back then for those shoes.
It's
Crazy.
like $800
so thanks, Mom.
today.
Thanks, Dad.
That is true.
One other thing in that Emmitsburg game, we go back to Keith Postman being quarterback. I mean, that was like the game where it played dividends because he threw 4 touchdown passes. Without that throw and attack, we may not win that game. So.
Right.
If I remember right, he hit Chad Willem on a couple big plays in that game too.
Down the field, yep.
Yep.
How many yards passing did we have that game?
They call me out of my stats here.
I know, I'm calling even out.
I should have been prepared.
100.
100. Nope. Emmitsburg game, you're talking?
Yeah.
140 yards. No, we had 176 yards rushing and
7 for 12 for 84 yards.
That's Emmitsburg. That's Emmitsburg. We were Central Line, George Little Rock. We were 7 for 9.
Oh yeah. For 139.
139, yeah.
139.
7 for 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
139 yards.
Yeah.
So
Is that the game that Baatz caught some wheel routes coming out of the backfield? If I remember.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep.
honestly, guys, there's no way that Coach Null could have known this. Yep. But in hindsight, you'd swear that he could see this coming, playing with our speed in a dome game in the second round.
Right.
You'd swear it because it was effective. It was totally difference maker in those two dome games, and before that even West Lyon even.
Before I forget, as we're talking about dome experiences, I wonder if Slummy remembers. I don't know if it was the Emmitsburg game or the Council Bluffs game where he was getting a little hot during the game and he was coming off the field and he ran about halfway off the field. Stopped, opened his helmet, and threw up. ran about six more steps, threw up. Remember that, guys? Remember that one?
Yeah, I do.
I don't think Slummy can hear it right now, but if he could, we got quite the crowd down here tonight at the brewery, and it's been a big night down here.
Hey,
but a lot.
Make sure you mind about Dale's sack in that Emmitsburg game too.
Dale, do you have the sack in the Emmitsburg game? Yeah.
Was he the one that recovered the fumble?
Yes, he got the sack and the fumble.
The sack and the fumble.
And if you watch that play, the Emmitsburg guys got about a 4-yard lead on him.
Yeah.
And he, within about 8 yards, amazing fumble.
That play has been immortalized. That play has been immortalized in 5th grade Central Line for the last how many years?
Yeah.
Right?
Take a bow, Dale. Take a bow. It was a big play at that point.
You got that right.
We gotta give a shout out to Dale Jansma as last year the junior high coach of the year for the state of Iowa.
You bet.
he's put a lot of time and effort into our program from the junior high standpoint, and definitely deserved. And a guy that's played for us, come back and coach for us, and put a lot of time and effort.
Love it,
thanks,
Dale. Love it.
And he's got a lot of good memories of our program. So it's Moving on to the Council Bluffs St. Albert game, the semifinal game. Again, a game that was at the Dakota Dome. Right? Correct?
Yep. 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row.
The dome is our home. That's what we kept saying. That's when it first started out.
A game that was dominated basically in 39-13 ball game. Again, very similar to the Emmitsburg game. So
I think it was 33-0 at half, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Really?
it was a whipping.
It was a fun game.
It was a whipping. The only downer was Scotty getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you get hurt, Scott, what time of the game?
I think it was late second
Yeah,
quarter.
it was right around
just
halftime, yeah.
Returning a punt and just my knee caught on the turf and
Yeah, you didn't take a hit. You
Didn't
just
take a
you
hit.
just made a good quick cut on it, and it went.
just went.
Yeah.
I remember when you got hurt too. I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
You could hear a pin
Yeah,
drop in
that's
that
just-
place, boy.
that's gonna hurt.
Yep.
And us, we were a senior dominate. Us seniors that played, we played so many games together, so many games,
It was a huge effect.
and then not to be able to play the final game was
yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we had a pretty capable backup in Jeff Johnson.
Oh yeah.
Make
Good
no mistake
very
about
good
it.
athlete.
But
Yeah.
it was as much as anything a chemistry thing.
Right.
Right.
Because of exactly what you just said.
Right.
You guys have been together for so dang long, and then all of a sudden that's gone.
Jeff
And it was tough enough coming off Monty's hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jeff was really good. Jeff was a different kind of back, though. Jeff
Yeah,
brought
yeah.
a little bit more of a not as much of a shifty back.
Right.
Scotty and Lance were the same kind of backs, and then we had a little different.
You
different
could
look.
take one away if Scott would have been in that championship game. You can take one away, but you can't take both
Right,
away.
right.
You simply can't do it.
Right.
And that was a huge difference. It
Yeah.
was the game.
That Council Bluffs game was total domination. Defense.
Total.
I remember they couldn't do anything against you guys defensively.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we're moving to the last game of the year, the Gardner-Hayfield game, 28-7 loss. But, again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on it like we do any other game we lost. But
We ran into a team that had a contrasting style to us. They were a power football team. The kid had
Oh my God, that kid was a monster.
Yeah,
Remember him?
they were an
Ryan,
inside-
Ryan Bakke, he was a
Yeah.
monster.
he was the real deal.
Yeah.
And then the coming off of Scott's injury was a killer for us. You just got to give him credit.
Yeah.
I still say it'd been a whole different game without our other scat back hurt. But
Oh yeah.
wow, you got to give him credit, I guess. Don't like to too much, but
No, I know. It's never fun.
It's like- yeah.
It's always fun talking about
Yeah.
the good stuff, but, I'll tell you what, though, I don't think these guys probably sit here as much as anything, a team that put CLGLR on the map.
they don't.
They don't.
You guys
literally,
need to know.
Literally, you think about the 90s alone. 91 started us.
Yeah.
96, we went 3A, never lost a district football game after that MOC loss. Went almost three and a half years. 9-9 in the finals. 3 times in the finals in the 90s. But before that, I remember Coach Jeff Cruz and I were talking earlier. Jeff Cruz was a ball boy at that time because Dan was coaching. But it was the dome experience, the fans, the parents bringing the kids down there. That made football the talk of the town.
Right.
And and it's been a while. You knew Dick had success in the 70s with Coach Postma and those guys, but the 90s is what started our program off. And that's, for me, is everything. I give Lance shit about his shoes, but that was all part of it. I couldn't tell you a wrestler that wore shoes. I couldn't tell you a lot of other stuff that happened, but I could tell you what happened in the dome games, what happened in the state championship game, because that was special memories, and that started the run for us. So from my standpoint, I appreciate that and what it brought to our program. So
And it got us, Tim. I know you'll agree with this. It got us off and running with the sharing program. It was what the doctor ordered. It truly was. And I still say the timing of it all was perfect. because of the senior class. You guys coming into it, the excitement it generated in the 4 communities, the schools. Can't give enough credit to you seniors of that bunch. I love doing this just for the reason you come back with all these memories. It was a wonderful run for Coach Null to have at that point in his career. It really was. It was the perfect guy for it. It was a great introduction for Tobe coming just a few years down the road. These were some good times, boys. Boy, this was good stuff. We were on the map. It brought everything back to the 70s.
You guys realize it? You guys realize it now? I mean, do you, honestly, 30
you?
years ago.
Do you realize it?
Do you realize it?
We are where we are, probably more for your group than any other group.
Let's have Baatz answer that. He's always a good philosophical answer.
Yeah.
What was the question?
there you go.
Do you realize the role that you guys played in the sharing agreement and setting up all the success we've had since then? That you guys had so much to do with that?
It's a great honor to hear that. And I would actually throw it back to those teams of the 70s. Grooters and I were talking about that. We constantly walked by those trophy cases and saw those 2 state championship trophies.
That's right. Yeah,
we saw those pictures of Jarvis DeBerg and Tom Roach and Postma and a couple others. And so it was like, we always aspired to do that.
Yeah.
That was the goal. So, like Grooters said, something we dreamed about getting to the Dome, or maybe Venenga said that. So, it's
had those big trophies in the trophy
We're just trying to
case.
continue what those teams started.
Yep. We looked back at those 70s teams with reverence. It's like, wow, that's what we wanted.
Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll say for me coming in, sorry,
The
Coach.
funny,
Go ahead, Lance.
no, I was going to say, the funny part about it was when we looked at those, it was like 1990, and we're looking at 77. Like, that was forever ago.
That's so long ago.
Yeah, I know it.
And now we're like,
So true.
Now we're 30 years later.
30 years since 1991.
Yeah.
So back to you, Tim. What do you got, Tim?
No, obviously I was just going to say it's such a fun year, but I just feel how fortunate I was. And, again, it's been a great 30 years, but just Grooters touched on it.
Okay.
Going into that playoff game with Emmitsburg, just the mentality of expecting to or wanting to play for a championship and seeing those trophies, and that was new to me. I remember 1990 was a good year that first year, but just a great group of guys. These 3 I'm with up here, but even prom our junior year, Rob and I were with Brent and Christy, and I just felt like I was part of the family. I remember that summer. I don't know if the George weight room was closed, but Coach Lorenzen was in there, and I think lifting over at Rock Rapids, and it was a better facility. And I think Brent and maybe Lance and I rode around a little bit, and I remember those guys saying just like, man, we're taking this seriously, no messing around. And I just loved it. I loved, because prior to that it was like, oh crap, we have to play Central Lyon this week. That's what everyone, So I remember that a little bit. Not that I played on those teams, but just how fortunate I was to be part of a fun season, playing in the Dome, playing with these guys, and how accepting they were. It was an easy.
It was
such a great,
perfect
grade.
Group to work with.
They were just good guys.
Perfect.
All 27 seniors, 29 seniors that we had.
29.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Look at that roster. How big that roster is. We had a lot of kids off of football.
We had 89 sophomores, juniors, and seniors on that football team.
Yeah, that's incredible.
89. So you throw in whatever freshmen. We had approximately had to be 100.
We were over 100.
110-ish number of kids out for football.
I just remember Dewey talking at coaches' meetings about how excited we were, how well these guys gelled with you guys coming over, and how well it gelled, and how if maybe the fans knew it, but as far as we're concerned, we didn't know who was who on the sideline. I mean, the field. It was one team. It was not Central Lyon and George Little Rock kids. It was one team, and it was such a smooth transition. And pat on the back, especially. I always mention you and Max. I think you and Matt were kind of the spearheads. I mean, there's some other guys, Corey and some of those guys, but I think you and Matt really spearheaded it on getting that going the way it was.
Yeah, we were very fortunate.
And if you get some guys younger than us, I see Nick Nelson a lot, and once a month, and Adam Boovie, of course, coaching at Morningside, and Tom Meester. But it is fun hearing those guys, like when they were grade school. You guys talking about watching us playing West Lyon or going to the Dome, and it's really cool now hearing those three studs talk about watching us when they were young. So it's pretty cool.
And that brings us to what we accomplished this season. It was time. It was the timing of it with the young kids. I don't know, honest to God, the impact that you guys' team had on the communities, and I say communities, all four of them, was very similar to the impact that this past year's team had on the communities because of no other reason than COVID. If I've had one, I've had 20 people tell me how it's just what we needed this past year with all the stuff that went on.
Yep.
And you know what? If for no other reason than because of the sharing and the distance between those 70s teams, we needed it then too. Very, very similar, eerie feeling of similarity of how that went. But the tradition carries on.
It's one of those things you go back to, and I guarantee you Roger Meyer, BJ Van Breezen, Adam Boovie, myself, when you started playing football, you had an expectation to win, but you also had an expectation that you weren't going to lose. Like, you never walked in the football field thinking you're going to lose. And I think that's what makes our football program so special is that starting with you guys in the 91 season, after that just took off, it was an expectation every time you stepped in that field that you're going to win.
Yep.
And that's what made it so fun. And it just, the memories, and I tell you what, that's what, I couldn't wait to do this night. I've been probably more excited than my year even, because for me, these are like the glory days. For me, that was, going to PE, seeing Baatzy and seeing Jager out there and seeing the guys. Those are the things that you look back and you're like, oh yeah, guys you idled and you couldn't wait to spend time with. And so for me, I was more excited about this night. And I called Venenga up and told him he had to come down, and it was a man of many words. So I didn't think we'd get him. I told everybody Venenga's coming down. They could not believe it. They're like, no way. So it's been fun. So I appreciate it.
My one little memory, just like with Lance and Scott, just the memory of like walking by those trophies, and I just remember like Mr. Postma and Coach Nall. It was just like they kept saying like, you could do this, man. You could do, you could be the next.
Yep.
And I started like believing it. But it was just like, it was almost like impossible that they were saying like, we could do it.
Yep. I remember that.
It seemed like so far in the past, but I mean, they just kept preaching and just, even probably like we were freshmen. I mean, started in sophomores, definitely junior year. I mean, Postma was just like, he'd always just preach on it, and we'd just be like, we could do this, we could be the next.
Yeah.
We could do this for the town, So that was very.
Yeah,
How many of the 1991 starters started 3 years or played 3 years?
Well, not many because the 89 team was pretty good. I mean, the 89,
88 and 89 were pretty tough.
Those are both playoff teams. So
actually, 87 was
I don't
a
remember.
decent team.
I don't think.
None of us started as
For
sophomores.
some reason, I think Baatzy. I don't remember coaching Baatzy in junior varsity. Was he playing varsity?
Oh, he played. Toby, he played the whole year.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Coach,
I just remember Grooters. I don't remember.
I got a memory for you, Coach. our JV year, every time
That's right.
we'd score a touchdown, we'd kick a field goal. We'd score the second touchdown, and we'd always run a fake.
The fake, remember the?
And it was always Grooters throwing it to Baatz.
Don't remember that?
Now I remember. Okay.
Now I remember.
It's been a while.
Boom, just like that is back.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
The JV season under Toby was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we outscored our opponents like 230 to 7.
It starts there. It's a real progression.
We had a fun year with Toby.
Yeah.
Was Toby and Ken that year then?
Yep.
No, Ken wouldn't have been over there yet.
No.
Tim started in 91, didn't he?
No, but sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
It'd be 89.
That's right, 89. That's
Okay.
right.
Toby
Yeah.
was.
No,
So
it's probably Dan and I.
You and Dan.
You and Dan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Good
That's
job,
right,
Tim.
yeah.
Yep.
And I got to say this, guys. I was really excited to come back to this team. I knew we knew what you guys brought, but I really wanted to come back because now we can tie Coach Knoll into all of this.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now we got the third one of the 3 head coaches that I've been able to work under. Tobe as well. Well, not quite with Curtis, but basically you do. But I really I wanted this because I wanted him to get his due. I wanted him that sounds really dumb, but I wanted him. If he were here, he would love this. Put it that way. He would just love this. He would have just eaten this up. So I really appreciate it for that reason, because we were in pretty good hands with him as our coach.
Yep. Learned a lot.
I mean, Coach Knoll started Central Line.
Yes.
I mean, he's you talk about the Central Line George Little Rock program. How we kind of Coach Knoll started Central Line.
You got that right.
No doubt.
He came in 1964.
1966. And that first year, he didn't get to coach a whole lot. He had some serious health problems. Steve Bresky's dad, pretty much coached the team for most of that season. But 1966, he had a year or two under his belt at Lakeview, I believe, before here. And I remember when Coach quit, Tobe, you remember this? I was so pissed at him. He had health issues that we didn't even realize. But I was so pissed at him because he quit with 199 career victories.
Yeah.
And we had R.J. Meyer back. And I told him, I said, Jesus, what the hell are you doing? But Jan told me many years later, or not that long later, he had some serious health issues that he needed to move on. But I just, when I got thinking back to this season, wow, he was in control. You could see the experience just oozing out of him. He just ate it up. So I was really glad to come back to that too. I really was. And thanks to you guys for allowing it to happen.
Oh, yeah, Coach.
Special group.
Coach Knoll, I mean, he deserves a lot of credit.
Oh.
Yep.
Better believe it.
Yep. Yeah. Deserves a lot of credit for a lot of things, from the program, the commitment, putting us on the map to, there's, it's shocking he's gone, but.
This is the Coach Knoll coaching tree sitting here.
Yeah,
Right here. Here. That's the truth. It is.
Oh, yeah.
Tied in with a little bit of our college experiences, but it's the Coach Knoll tree, no doubt. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely.
That's one thing I love about Central Line football is it's constant, right? I look at this room and it's like it represents like 50 years almost of Central Line football. And I remember Curtis Eben, the 4th grader, curly hair and a smile on his face every day. He was a personality in that room. I totally remember him. And so it's really cool to see Curtis, Toby handed off to Curtis, and just the continued success in familiarity, right? I can go back to a game now and see some faces that I know, and it's just easy to keep cheering for the program. So kudos to all that you guys have done.
I appreciate Lane.
Thanks,
I
Baatz.
appreciate it, Baatz. Yeah, here I am sitting here. My kid's a freshman this year.
Yeah.
Just like that, it's like, holy crap, things fly, but it's all part of the progress, and it's been fun. And that's why, that's like I said, I was so excited to do this year and go through it. We're going to talk a little bit about some team awards and some stats here. But team rush for 3,360 yards that year. Baatz had 160 attempts for 1,370 yards. Tim Jager had that 134 attempts for 600 yards. Scott Groves had 86 for 592. The team had 56 receptions for 1,039 yards. Baatz had 17 for 300 yards. Venenga had 16 for 285, and Grooters had 12 for 239.
Boy, our average per catch was amazing that year, wasn't it? Holy smokes.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Whoa.
17.6, 17.9,
Wow.
and 19.8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So like 18
But one
yards
question,
a catch.
on the other podcast, I heard a lot of, stat or records.
Yeah.
Does Baatz have the per average carry record? Has anyone averaged more than 8.6 a carry?
I doubt it, but we don't probably have that. We haven't kept that record.
I mean, maybe Tom Roach. I mean,
no, he wouldn't have had that much. No.
I mean, I would guess that Baatz is number one.
The closest one might be Tom Roach, but
8.6 yards per.
That's incredible.
That is a first down damn near every time you touch a ball.
That's Barry Sanders-esque.
That's pretty comfortable, Jeff. Hey, Jeff, that's pretty comfortable as an offensive coordinator, isn't it? Yeah.
I was kind of thinking they gave me the ball the most because I could block the least.
There you go. I know. Hey, Bossy, I knew you could catch the ball, but I always felt like Grooters was a way better receiver than you for some reason. I don't know why.
There's truth to that.
But the best of them all was the tight end. I'm going to tell you right now.
Oh, yeah.
Venenga was a stud.
Venenga was a stud.
Curtis, how many kids do we have to go play college football off that team? Quite a few.
I was in 4th grade, Dewey. I remember Baatz with Northwestern. I guess and Scotty.
You know, my nephew, he played college football up at Wilmer that first year.
Did we have 7?
You went to Central first, then you went to
Mark
Northwestern.
Wall, you, Baatzy.
Venenga, Klinkenberg.
That's 6.
Slum and Postma.
Slummy went with Postma.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
7?
7 of them.
Yep.
Big Bruce.
Jager wrestled.
That's right. I don't know. I hope you guys understand what we're talking about here, how special this is.
Yes.
You'll realize it more and more as you get older, but old farts like me understand it, believe me. You don't take nothing for granted at my age, and your impact on this program is not undersold by me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
You get that right.
Keep going with stats. We were 57 for 112 for 1,039 yards. Team touchdown leaders, Baatzy had 21 total. Grooters had 12. Heath Postman had 8, and Tim Jager had 7. Averaged that year 31.2 points per game.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's incredible.
For back then especially. I mean, as much the game
Absolutely
was.
amazing.
Defense gave up 155 points, so 11.9 points per game. Led in tackles by the man, Tate man Venenga, 177 that year. Tim Jager with 124. Baatzy led in interceptions with 9. So all conference players were Joel Groos, Monty Klinkenberg, Brent Venenga, Lance Baatz, Lance Schlumbum, Scott Grooters, Tim Jager, Mark Wall, and Heath Postman.
And I will attest for Dick's sake. When you went to these all-conference meetings, they were tough because it was all Sioux County
versus
Sioux County versus West Line and Central Line. And for us to get that many guys on all-conference was incredible, and that just shows you how good our stats were and how good those guys were to be able to get that many guys on there.
Very good point. Very good point.
Go through and
go ahead.
all-state players, Baatzy, Des Moines Register, first team running back. Brent Venenga, second team linebacker. Brent was also selected to the Iowa Shrine Bowl that year. Monty Klinkenberg was Des Moines Register, third team O-line. And then Scott Grooters was third team DB. So
let me just say something on that. Sometimes the Des Moines Register gets it right, and sometimes they get it wrong. Venenga should have been a first team linebacker.
That right.
No question about it.
You know how it is. It just comes down to you win the championship, you get an extra 2 or 3 guys. Yeah. Yep.
He was the heart and soul of the defense. Just an athletic lineman. And I even knew a couple of those guys because Mark Wall played at Central College with a couple of the guys on the first team. I texted Wall this week. I'm like, these 2 guys, were they as good as Venenga? He's like, no way.
Yeah.
So I confirmed it. Venenga he should have been. He was a first team All-State linebacker. First team All-State linebacker.
To kind of what Tobe said, a runner-up team should have more than one first teamer.
Yeah. Yes.
In my mind.
Absolutely.
They should,
especially with the dominance going into it. I mean, beating Emmitsburg, beating Council like we did. I mean, you got to know there's got to be dudes walking on that field, and so that's where it's a little disappointing when you look at that stat. But in hindsight, you know how the Des Moines Register works. If you're not around Des Moines, they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
That just drives me
See,
nuts.
and in all reality, Des Moines Register kind of forgot Central Line for a while and George Little Rock after you guys got done doing.
Yeah.
Des Moines Register became a big fan of ours after you guys for a long time.
Exactly
kind of helped pave the way. That's a good point. Very good point.
Right.
I appreciate you saying that. After all these years, like when you think about the old times, that's the one thing that I think about is that I didn't get that first team on All-State. That's the only thing not the only thing, but that's kind of the one thing I remember. It's just like,
What more could you have done?
I know that exactly.
it just didn't happen.
170. What did I say?
177
tackles.
Part of the reason, Brent, is a couple of those guys that got it played fullback at these other schools, and they'd rush for 1,500 yards.
Yeah.
And okay, let's put that guy. Let's put that guy first team up. You played. You played tight end, so you didn't. But that's part of the reason.
That's part of the politics of it. No doubt about it.
But I've been around.
You got hooked on the politics.
I've been around this program for a long time. I mean, a long time. And I remember a lot of guys. I went back and watched a 91 tape. Coach Cruz and I spent a lot of time in the office recently watching. Venenga was as good a linebacker as we've had. And we're talking a dude.
Yeah.
I know he's sitting here with us, and he probably hates me saying it, but I call him the tape man because you could always see him on the field.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He was a little bit. He was white up top, a little bit of yellow pants, and a lot of tape around him. And so you always followed him. But on every play, in on every tackle, got to the ball, brought attitude. Just that's where you, like you said, Brent, you definitely got screwed on that. And it's a sad reality of how things work. But
you know it in your own mind.
Yeah,
it's a politic thing. Yep.
But I guarantee Dick probably turned over in his grave because of it yet too.
Yeah.
Knowing Dick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he took care of his dudes, and so that was part of it. So.
And speaking of our tech man, I got to say this, Curtis. We call him our tech man. In case anybody out there is wondering, his name is Jeff Cruz. And he's really good at what he does, and I give him a lot of crap. But thanks for everything, Jeff. You've done a wonderful job. And thanks to his wife, Jess, too.
And Jeff's been involved with this football program since he was this high on the sidelines, standing next to me watching practice when he was this high back then.
He's our offensive coordinator these days and doing an awesome job. And he bleeds the purple and gold. Make no mistake.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, it's been fun. We started this podcast whole thing, and it was just talked about, and Jeff's like the one that jumped on board with it, and Jeff's like, all of a sudden the next day he walks in my office, we're going to do it. What dates we're going to do? And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And all of a sudden it's like, boom, 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 and we had dates, and we're set up, and Jeff's on board with it, and his wife Jess and comes down and sets things up with them and to make it happen. And all the newspaper articles that you guys we sent, Jeff goes and clips them all out. So
Jess keeps the beverages available.
Yeah,
there's
been really nice.
There's so many years you could have put on there from Central Line and George Little Rock, but boy, you did a hell of a job of putting some really good years on to start this podcast.
Yeah. It
really
has.
Good.
We go back and look at it. I wanted a good one to start with. I thought '96 was an excellent year.
Perfect.
Just having RJ and those guys on there. But to finish the year, we needed one to spring us into next year, and that's where I wanted 91. I kind of wanted to start with 91, and then I backed off and we changed it. But because it was on the map type of team, and for me, it's special, like I said earlier. But again, going through, I'm going to finish up here because I don't want to get too off track. But school records that year, Brent Venenga started second all time with 294. Heath Postman ended up second with 1,118 yards. You got to remember that was basically one season, right?
Damn, It was totally one season.
Wow.
So
that's incredible for us.
Single season rushing yards. Baatz ended up number one career all time with 1,370 yards. So, so I wanted to finish that off before we got things done. But it's again for me, it's. I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart, and I say that truly. I know Scott came down from Nashville. Tim came up to Sioux City. Brent came over from South Dakota, and so Baatzy's over in Colorado. But for you guys to join us and to be part of it, it means a lot to me. Hopefully as much as everybody else. But
thanks, boys.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. This
A lot of fun.
Again, as
Thanks for having us.
I always kind of get sentimental. It's just amazing how much these guys have accomplished in their adult lives. And it's so proud of us as coaches to see these guys accomplish so much and be glad that we were able to be part of their lives at one time.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. Can't beat it.
Venenga,
We're the luckiest guys in the world.
You got any shoot stories here for us for Coach Postma?
He didn't have to do it, that slacker. Tight ends didn't come with me near enough. Didn't have to worry about that with you, though.
I know you asked me if I had any Postma stories. I got so many Postma stories.
I got some.
But just it sounds weird, but just the past couple of years, like the older I get, I mean it's like mentoring like young children and like kids like even that work for me now. And he, just like you guys say, that you're sitting here, but I think of two people that through school. One was Dwayne Postma, and another one was Tom Vinson.
You bet.
Yeah.
Through Rock Rapids, and I mean, Mr. Postma means a lot to me.
Yep.
You bet.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. That's awesome, buddy.
Good stuff, buddy. Nope. And as we go through here, as we finish off here, season 1, we're going to plan on doing season 2. Hopefully we still got the same crew around to do it. So, we're going to, again, try to do 4 weeks as the next season goes along here. As of next year, we're going to do the 1998 season. Semifinal team lost to Harlan. We're going to do the 2006 state championship team. And the other 2 seasons, we need some input on. A lot of good teams to choose from out there. But for us, so if you want to do, I know 2011 was thrown out. I know some other teams have been thrown out on our way. So we're going to keep talking. But again, I appreciate you guys coming on tonight.
Keep those memories out there, everybody.
Yeah.
I've been talking to people for weeks now, and everybody's full of the memories. A real quick one, Coach, real quick.
No, absolutely.
My nephew Tyler telling me a memory he had of the 06 senior bunch. They did a letter writing, pen pal deal with Sioux Center when they were in 5th grade. And to finish that off, they went to Sioux Center to get together with these 5th graders. Okay? They had lunch with them and everything. They went out to recess together. They managed to find a football. Next thing you know, they're just knocking the hell out of each other with the Sioux Center 5th graders. And he said, we got these guys crying. Pretty soon the teachers come and grab the football players, and we get on the bus and we go home. That tells you what a bunch of seniors, a bunch of kids that come up together, play football together, and that's just a little example of the memory that triggered with him. It's how they go to Sioux Center, they go down there, and they match up against each other, and at recess they're kicking the hell out of each other. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know who came out on top, you know that. But that's what it means for you guys as you grow up together as football players. And Curtis said something. Curtis, I want you to repeat what you said to the next year's team next year. What makes football so special? Remember you told him the other day? The football is going to be their favorite experience.
Oh yeah. I told the kids in our team meeting because I told them, I go, football is the most special sport you'll ever play because it's the only time you can ever do it. You can golf the rest of your life.
You can shoot hoops.
You can play basketball the rest of your life.
You can run.
But most of you sitting in this room, you'll never be able to put a football helmet on again. And I don't think kids they don't realize that until the last day you walk off the field with that football helmet on. You realize that is it.
That's it.
And as much as I preach that to kids as much as possible and that's what makes football so special. And I don't care I don't care if basketball, wrestling, baseball.
They're great sports.
Great sports.
Obviously.
I mean, I'm not knocking them, but the bottom line is you just can't do it again. You can't replicate what you did on that football field.
You just don't.
And so, and that's a big deal. And I think you guys know that. I think it's a big part of it, and that's what makes our program so special. And again,
generation after generation.
It's been fun. So, again, we're sitting at 2 hours. It felt like 10 minutes.
Is it really?
Yeah, 2 hours. We're over 2 hours.
Wow.
And so, but again, I again, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you guys, your commitment to our program, coming back and talking, making fun of Baatzy. I always got to make fun of Baatzy a little bit.
Say hi to the family out there, Baatzy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you, Lance.
Yeah,
So, again,
great seeing you guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks,
Great
for coming,
seeing you, Baatzy.
thanks for coming on, Baatzy. It was fun.
Yeah, just a fantastic idea to start these podcasts. I mean, it's just to kind of A, get people together, B, to kind of get the stories on record, and then
Get a little edgy once in a while. That's okay.
Yeah,
What the
but
heck?
just a smart way to kind of keep interest in CLGLR going forward. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well said.
I thought about one thing since few were making fun that I wasn't speaking too much. I mean, talking to my wife this week, and I've literally thought about this for the past 30 years now. Where I'm at now, I mean, I attend the high school football games, and I've attended some other family football games in high school, and even the college kids and high school kids that work for me, the old stories come up, and they'll just, every now and then, they'll ask, and I'm just the one thing that gets me is I lost my last high school football game.
That sucks.
And you always kind of the towns I'm in, they support their teams, but I always kind of a lot of people don't know where Rock Rapids, Iowa is sometimes, but you're my hometown supported their team so much. I mean, the coaches just, supported the kids. I mean, the community supports
The four little towns.
I mean,
That's right.
I talk about that so much. It's incredible how I just relive, and you would just be amazed how our town and how, I mean, it's just a strong,
And those
high
Friday night
school.
lights.
Yep, it's
That's
just
awesome.
Yep.
I've said it every week too. Same thing, Brent. I'm just people can say all they want about our other programs. Ours is pretty special because we just do a great job with that.
Yep.
Good stuff. Well said, buddy.
No, I echo that. I live it every Friday night. I get a front row seat to it, so that's all part of it. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Season 1, we're going to come to an end here, and we'll move on. Hopefully you guys can listen on to Season 2 coming up next year. And again, I want to thank all the 91 guests for coming on and coming down here to support the brewery and Rock Rapids as we continue to grow it. So again, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
It's been awesome.
Thank you.
Great bunch. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the inaugural season of the CLGLR Football Podcast. We'll be back in early 2022 with our next season where we'll pick out some teams to discuss and players to talk about. In the meantime, please follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay up to date on everything CLGLR football related. We appreciate all your support, and go Lions!